Beat Saber meets Binding of Isaac. Guitar Hero meets Enter the Gungeon. DDR meets Spelunky.
Now, throw in a 2D Zelda game, and you get what could be one of the most unique indie sequels I have ever played. Cadence of Hyrule, a roguelike rhythm dungeon crawler blended with an action-adventure game. This is considered to be a sequel or spin-off to Crypt of the Necrodancer, and it is a crossover with the Legend of Zelda franchise. Fortunately, or unfortunately, you're still when fighting enemies. Does Cadence of Hyrule live up to the beats on our tier list? As a sequel, Cadence of Hyrule shares most of the same mechanics as its predecessor. All of your actions, including movement, attacks, and items, are strictly limited to the game's soundtrack. The game does also feature a mode where you aren't required to follow the beat and play this game like a tactical RPG or chess, but I personally never opted to go down this route. One immediate difference is that the coin multiplier is replaced by the diamond multiplier from the previous game, as the game rewards you with diamonds for defeating all the enemies in each segment of the map. These diamonds are great for saving up and spending on better weapons, items, and permanent upgrades whenever you die or desire to upgrade in special locations, and you don't lose these when you re-enter the world. The coins, or should I say rupees, are the other source of currency that you can use to purchase gear and weapons, but outside of aesthetic changes, they are pretty much the same. By defeating enemies, cutting grass, and digging, you can earn rupees like you would in a regular Zelda game. Another difference in Cadence of Hyrule is that the game chose to remove the zone system from the first game in favor of exploration and navigation, by giving you a big, seed-generated world that consists of your typical dungeons, villages, and caves, like in a Zelda game, and the layout will remain the same for the rest of your save file. There are various secrets hidden in each area, whether it be a piece of heart or a cracked wall that leads to a secret cave. There are also certain areas that feature special unlockable chests that hold certain requirements or challenges to unlock. Almost all of these chests are entirely optional and just give you a better boost throughout the game. But now we have to get to the dungeons. Compared to the overworld, which is generated much like Minecraft, the dungeons here retain the same randomly generated system that will change the layout every time you enter and exit, keeping true to the roguelike genre and Crypt of the Necrodancer. There is a mode in the game that retains the classic layout and difficulty of the first game, where, it kind of just brings you through a crypt the entire time and it randomly generates, but you're given a much smaller variety and it certainly isn't the primary focus of the game. Most of the enemies in this game are just reskins of enemies from Crypt of the Necrodancer, which unfortunately doesn't give much of the variety that Dakota had hoped for, but at least it allows players to use skills they have already learned from playing the first game. Thankfully, only the enemies seem to lack variety. The items in this game are very fun to use and can sometimes be used for navigating rather than just combat. You'll definitely recognize some of these items and you'll unlock them the same way you would in a regular Zelda game. I would say the mini-bosses in this game are slightly a little more varied from the previous game, although you'll definitely notice some reskins here and there, especially considering most of the enemies in Crypt of the Necrodancer feel already similar to Zelda enemies before we even hit this crossover. That being said though, unlike Crypt of the Necrodancer, I think Cadence of Hyrule is a much easier and forgiving game. It falls under the unfortunate ordeal that most Zelda games experience, where the game can be very initially difficult, but then it progresses backwards and starts getting much easier as you go along. If Crypt of the Necrodancer was in the center of Dakota's difficulty scale, I would say Cadence of Hyrule leans a little more to the right, being more fair with the difficulty, rather than poorly designed gameplay. Ouch. It goes both ways. Perfectionism in this game is much more easily attainable now. With the newer art style of this game, I can't say enough about how amazing this game looks. If there was a new 2D Zelda game, I would choose this art style. The animations have improved a lot, and you can actually see some of the personality with these characters. Of course, aesthetics aren't everything, but having animations like this proved beneficial for certain enemies that were previously annoying to track in Crypt of the Necrodancer. When you screw up, you legitimately screw up. It's actually your fault. That's why you gotta get good. Players need no introduction to how amazing this music is. Cadence of Hyrule takes iconic themes from all around the Zelda series and gives it a nice, catchy tune. Those familiar with certain themes from Crypt of the Necrodancer will also be able to experience a truly masterful crossover theme right as they start the game. As with the first game, Cadence of Hyrule captures the vibes of different musical genres through remixes of various iconic Zelda themes. Those that were already memorable were escalated to greater heights with the new, fast tempo that these remixes offered. Never have I imagined humming these specific versions of Zelda themes in my head. The unfortunate part is that because the game is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, you wouldn't be able to upload any music you would want. To compensate for that, the game features a DLC pack that adds 3 versions of the soundtrack that each capture their respective artists' styles of music. As a result, you essentially have the same themes everywhere you go, but the style and genre drastically change depending on how you customize the music. Crypt of the Necrodancer is considered a success for the start of an indie game, Cadence of Hyrule is a perfect follow-up with the traditional roguelike gameplay complementing that of action-adventure. Dakota, I think it's best if I told you that almost all of your wishes have come true. A large variety of items to work with, a greater range of abilities that give each player something else to feel more powerful with, and a much more forgiving and fair difficulty curve. But that leaves us with the question: how far up does Cadence of Hyrule dig on our tier list? Ranking these games on a tier list isn't very easy, and very rarely do we ever grant games generously high rankings, especially when it comes to sequels and spin-offs. There are expectations and there is reality, and I seriously could be extremely technical here. I would say it hits an A tier at the base level, but hear me out. This game brought us an innovative and addicting action-adventure roguelike game that no one else has ever seen before, let alone an indie game focused on a big AAA Nintendo property like The Legend of Zelda, giving us a once-in-a-lifetime experience that leaves you desiring for what's to come next. It was a dream come true for the developers at Brace Yourself Games to be able to develop a game that already bore heavy similarities, a DLC idea that evolved into a full game. It sets a high expectation for whatever follows through. And if there was actual half ratings or partial ratings in this list, I would rank Cadence of Hyrule as an A+, basically the top of A tier. And we certainly know now that this isn't really the end for Crypt of the Necrodancer.